Hi, this is Scott with the Android Guys podcast. I'm here with Luke.
Hey.
Luke, you ready to hang?
Yeah, let's hang out.
Hanging with the guys.
Yep.
It's Thursday.
Thursday.
Yep. We moved up another business day.
Yep.
If you're paying really close attention.
Yeah.
You're probably getting confused. Actually, no. If you're paying really close attention, you already know what we're doing.
Yeah. If you're paying really close attention, you are not confused because you know.
You saw this coming.
Yeah, we told you.
Yeah. So this is our freeform podcast episode.
Yep.
Where we'll talk about some of the things that we're using, watching, consuming, and just kind of catch up.
Yeah.
A chance to peek behind the curtain a little bit.
Right.
And find out what goes into who we are.
Yep.
And just kind of give you some insight. So it's December 7th today.
Yeah.
But it's going to be the 9th.
Yep.
When we
Yep.
publish this. Still, how's your Christmas shopping going?
You know what? I am lucky that my wife handles all of it for the most part. For everybody else, I'm responsible for her. And I usually I have two kids, and so I usually grab something for them from me specifically. So that's really all I have to do. You know, a couple friends, stuff like that. But that's pretty easy. I got lucky.
I have a pro tip for you.
Yeah.
Don't have friends.
Oh.
Don't have to worry about gifts.
You know what? As I get older, that's easier and easier.
Yeah, write that down.
I find that as I grow older, I have less and less quote unquote friends.
What's really weird,
you have a lot more acquaintances.
Yeah. Guys you know, and your kids recognize when they see them. They don't remember why they know them.
Right.
Like, is that the guy we went over to his?
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's, I was thinking about that the other day with my son. We were talking about something, and of course he's graduated now, and we've had the conversations. I don't know if you've had them yet, but things are different, Dad, than when you were in school.
Yeah.
Things have changed quite a bit since you were my age.
Yeah.
All those things. We were talking about something, and I was like, dude, I used to be cool. And I'm not trying to
He's like, really?
Yeah, I'm not trying to brag on myself, but I used to have a lot of friends.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to make you feel bad here, but I had more friends than you do when I was your age.
Yeah.
But it is different because a lot of their friends, the relationships are different now. Well, specifically right now because of the pandemic has changed a lot of stuff. But just and seeing how kids interact with each other.
Yeah.
You have some of these family gatherings, and it's like all the cousins they're all sitting in the same room together, but they're all playing on their own phones.
Yeah, they're not playing with each other like we did. Like we would play, we would wrestle, or we would all be climbing a tree or hide and seek.
Yeah. Running
whatever.
Around. Yep.
Now they're just like, hey, check out this app I got. Hey, have you seen this?
Showing each other memes.
Have you seen this one? Have you seen this one?
Yeah. Like, how far are you in this? Oh, you should start a server and let me join.
Right.
Oh, let me play that. It's really weird.
Yeah, it is.
Like, I don't know if it's I don't know. Like, I feel like it's a whole social topic thing to get into in terms of like, why is that?
Over the last 15 years, I would say that, we've all moved to being more distant in our proximity as far as like relationships, but more, I would say more distance, like in proximity, but more personal almost too.
Yeah, like
I feel like the conversations that I hear about my kids have, or they're talking about with their friends, they're talking about like real things.
Yeah,
but it's with a friend that's in Washington State. Yeah. Like somebody they met on
Xbox Live.
Yeah, it's like that's so strange. It seems very different because the only way I had friends that were in different states is from like camp or something.
Yeah.
I did, or if they moved their family moved from my school.
Dude, when you were in school and a kid moved to a different school district,
bye. They stopped existing.
Yeah. See ya.
Yeah.
You were an awesome part of my life. And and then when you run into them like 2 years later because it's a junior high game and you're like, oh, are we friends?
Yeah.
Are we weird now? Is it like you don't know how to be? Now kids, I mean, I feel like there are kids that are closer we've never met than the friends that we thought were like really cool.
Right.
It's also interesting when I think about how like how I prefer to be like communication, like when my phone rings.
Mm-hmm.
For a long time, with like spam and some of that stuff, it was just kind of like, ugh, I don't want to answer that.
Sure.
Caller ID would, screen that stuff, whatever. But then you'd see like people calling me, and I've realized that over time I get more and more like, why is he calling me?
Right.
What does he want?
Right.
Like, this is a text, and feeling that way. And that the number of people who do call me is fewer than it's ever been.
Yeah.
And less often, but there's so many times where my wife and I will have a conversation and the topic of somebody called somebody and we just look at each other and we're like, that's a text.
Yeah.
At the same time, we're like, I know, dude, don't invade my day with some stupid thing of like, I'm at the store and I'm looking at this. And, do you want one? You can shoot me a text. If I don't reply, I don't reply.
Right. The only time I'll do a phone call, I've basically a text only person. I'll call if I'm driving.
Yep.
Or I'll call if I need to know an answer right away.
Yeah.
If it's like, hey,
I'm pulling into the drive-thru. Are you sure you don't want something?
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
That's about it.
I'm with you, dude. And I'm the same way with people stopping by my house.
Sure.
That you could text me.
Yeah.
We can talk. We can like. Actually, I'm not trying to sound that way. But you feel more invaded when with a random stop by.
Yeah, it used to be part of life. It'd be a thing where just like, hey, we were around, figured I'd stop and say hi. Like, oh, cool, hi.
Want some coffee?
Yeah.
Come on in.
Now it's just like if somebody stops by, it's like, why are you here?
Hey, how come Scott just pulled into the driveway?
Yeah.
And Angel. And Alexander.
What are they doing?
Oh, we were just out getting our Christmas tree and thought we'd swing by. Ugh, get out of here. Beat it.
Which is so weird because you don't feel that way at all.
No.
You really you don't. If it's like somebody comes over and stops at the house, you're like this is weird. Why are they here?
Weird, yeah.
But then at the same time you're like, oh, that's actually kind of nice.
Yeah.
Because you see somebody.
And I've driven plenty of times by or be in an area and be like, oh, we should stop by. I'm like, no, I don't want to be weird. Like, I don't want to just show up.
Right.
But growing up as a kid, people just showed up at your house.
It was just normal, right?
Like, hey, come on in.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Tell us, how's school going? Like,
right.
Kids, come here. Luke's here. Like,
oh, really? Sweet.
Uncle Luke.
Check out these G.I. Joes I got.
Yeah. It was just right away comfortable. But now, I don't know. I'm primed somewhere. Like, if I see headlights flash across like the wall, I know someone's come my driveway. Right away,
somebody turning around. They get lost.
Yeah, I'm like flipped in the blinds. I'm like, I think they saw me.
Right.
Like, we can't even just pretend to not. Like, I hope that's an Amazon delivery
pull
guy.
Up your doorbell and look who's out there.
Yeah.
At this point,
is that an Amazon delivery guy or DoorDash or like? Yeah, don't answer that. My son, I had to coach him.
Yeah.
Into just not answering doors. Like, somebody knocks, he would just go answer, and I'm like, dude, no.
Yeah.
We have to vet. We have to. Shh. Be quiet.
I can hear you in there.
No, you can't. So there was just
like that persistent aunt.
Yes.
I know you're in there, Scott.
No, I'm not.
You just said you're not.
Yeah, it's really weird. And I don't know if that's like this slow, invisible hand that's been pushing me towards becoming an old, cranky old man.
Right? Yeah.
Like, I'm becoming the things that I get mad at my dad for being.
Right.
Like, you sound old. Like, yeah. I don't want to. I mean, I repeat a lot of stuff or find myself saying things out loud that I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's totally my dad talking here.
I still remember this was, my kids are 11 and 14 now, but so this was probably 6 years ago. But the first time I said, because I said so,
ooh,
and it's like, when you hear that as a kid, you're like, oh, and then you're like, I'm never going to say that. I'm never going to say it. And then eventually your kids are like, why? Or they ask you for the 7th time the same thing. Right. No. Why? Well, because I said so.
That's it.
Like,
let that be it. Like, that doesn't make any sense though, Dad. Like,
it doesn't have to.
Yeah, because that's the final answer.
Right.
And we're not, because I have to be a man of my word, and my word a half hour ago was no.
Right.
And now you're not going to just bend and
me. I am not going to teach you that badgering is.
Yeah, persistence is your way.
Right.
It's just, no. I heard my son tell his girlfriend one time, I'll just beg until I always get my way.
Oof.
I heard him say that.
Ooh.
And it's not accurate.
Right.
Because she was quick to say, well, what about, and she named 2 times when he didn't get his way.
Yeah.
He's like, well, shut up, But I think he thinks that with just enough applied pressure,
right,
somebody's going to be like, fine already, just go.
Right.
Like, can I stay the night at my friend's house?
Yeah.
No. But everybody else, no. But if I come home tomorrow, no. Like,
yeah,
the question was answered. Let's leave it.
Yeah.
Now you're just going to make me upset.
Yep.
And you're going to walk away with less than you had.
Yep.
Yeah. Welcome to the dad segment of the
right.
Android Guys show.
Right.
Luke, what you been up to, man?
So this is actually a perfect segue. I've been watching some things, and one of the things I watched was on HBO, 8-Bit Christmas, which is the holiday movie. Neil Patrick Harris.
Yep.
It's the story. It's told. He's telling his daughter. It takes place. The movie starts out in present times, and it's him telling the story to his daughter of the Christmas that he wanted a Nintendo. And the things that we're talking about now, it was like the perfect snapshot into that world. If you grew up in the 80s, if you were a child of the 80s, early 90s, this movie is like, it'll give you all of the feels and all of the remembrance and all of the things of like,
I hear that, and I think the last thing that did that to me was Stranger Things.
Yes. So,
and it puts me right in that time.
This will do that exactly, because the dad is the dad of, that has elements of, the dads that most of us had.
Mm-hmm.
The mom. Definitely, he said he had a plan on how to get his parents to say yes to getting a Nintendo for Christmas. He knew if his mom did a lot of things around the house, but she could focus on 2 things. If you threw a third thing at her, she would get frazzled and she would say yes to anything.
Oh,
so that's what he did. He threw a couple things at her, and then finally was like, "Can I get a Nintendo?" And she's like, "Yeah, sure. Whatever." So that's how he got her. And then, his thing for dad was, if I'm helping dad around the house, if I start doing something with him, and then if I can have a reason why the Nintendo would help me, then I can get him to say yes. And it was just, there's parts of the movie where they go to the mall, and the parents are going, "Hey, we're going to go here. You watch your sister and you stay in this area." And, all of those things that we remember of, going to the store and, okay, you guys hang out in the toys for a little bit and we'll be back. Which like, now I would never do that with my kids.
And, it's weird, right? Like, you were fine.
Right.
But now you look at it, you're like,
right.
I don't know. I don't trust you.
And the kids, just the things that they were talking about, and the whole idea of like, the different clothes that you would have to wear, or you would get made fun of for wearing certain things.
Yep.
And, there's a part right in the beginning of the movie where he's like, I was riding my bike over to my friend's house, and the daughter's like, you wearing a helmet? And he's like, yeah, we always wore helmets. And then like, it
the
shows,
flashback shows the helmet show up.
Yeah, his like pops on his head. And it's just, it was a really fun movie.
Dad, did you do as you say? You
Right.
tell us to do? Of course I did.
But yeah, I really liked it. It's, it's cheesy. It's got some cheesy stuff, but I can see this being a holiday movie that I would go back to each year. It caught me off guard. The end, got me a little choked up.
Ooh.
It was one of those things that I didn't see it coming until the very end. And I was just like, man, you got me. Why'd you get me?
How dare you?
But yeah, man, I think overall it's a good movie. I really liked it.
That's cool. I've debated on wanting to watch that.
It's fun. There's some parts that it's just like, this is all right. Let's go back to some more fun stuff or silly stuff.
I was afraid that it was going to be a little too paint by numbers, kind of hokey for me.
Not so much,
okay,
because
good.
It's not. It doesn't feel like it's trying to check all these boxes. It's just saying this is the snapshot of this. This could be a snapshot of the life that we all remember.
Okay, and
it just goes from there. And there's some cool cameos, some good people for cameos, and
nice.
I liked it. Other than that, I watched Looper. That was on Netflix. I hadn't seen that in a while.
Okay, so you have seen it.
I had seen it before, but I hadn't seen it in a while.
Yeah.
I like that movie.
I like the idea of it. I like the concept. It's I am usually interested in time travel.
Sure.
Especially if it's trying to do something different.
Yeah.
Where it's trying to use it as a tool in service of a story.
Yep.
Rather than just saying, we're going to go back in time and get into trouble.
Right.
Because, but the actual usage of time is employed. And, that was an interesting movie. I liked, did you feel like Joseph Gordon-Levitt pulled off a good young Bruce Willis?
Yes and no. I think it was, I can't remember exactly if it was CGI or prosthetics. I think it was a mix of both. Mm-hmm. It feels a little weird the whole time. It has a little bit, and this was, I don't even remember when the movie came out. It's been, 10 to 12 years, I want to say, almost, maybe. But it did have a little bit of a uncanny valley feel to it, slightly. It just, something about it felt a little strange. The other thing, I hadn't seen it in a while. It's rated R. Mm-hmm. It's violent.
Very violent.
Very violent. And that I just forgot.
Yeah.
You got a date for me?
2012.
All right.
Yep. Very violent when you just show up on that mat.
Right.
Just.
But it was cool. I was surprised Emily Blunt.
Mm-hmm.
I was more surprised at Emily Blunt now because she looks the exact same.
Isn't that weird?
She hasn't aged at all.
Yeah.
Like, that, I was like, wow. Yep. Good for you.
She looks the same in that, and then Live, Die, Repeat, Day After Tomorrow.
Yeah.
And Quiet Place.
Yeah.
Like, she
just doesn't age. She's like Mary Poppins.
According to IMDb, she's 109.
Makes sense. She's a witch.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was fun watching that again. And then the only other thing I've been watching is The Witcher. I started watching The Witcher to get ready for season 2 that's coming out here soon.
So it was a rewatch?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of rewatching.
Okay.
So there's like, I want to say there's 8 or 9 episodes. I can't remember exactly, but I'm on episode 5.
Is that something that you went into because you were interested in the property prior to this?
Yeah, so I'd played the games. I didn't read the books, but I had played the Witcher games. And so I liked that world, and I was excited to see it, fleshed out. I like Henry Cavill in general.
Yeah.
And so I was excited to see it. It's good. It's really good. And that ticks the box for me. It's adventure, it's fantasy, there's magic, it's all that kind of stuff. So it's right up my alley. And there's enough going on. The way that they tell the story in that season, there's a lot of not time travel in the show, but they play with time as the episodes unfold.
Yeah.
And you don't kind of realize it until the culmination of the season. And so it makes it a little hard to follow if you're really not paying attention. And it's been long enough removed from seeing it the first time that I wanted to kind of catch myself up to kind of remember where we are, moving into this next season.
Yeah. I haven't, I didn't spend any time with the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm aware of
Sure.
that in the books, but yeah, I've circled it. It's kind of on one of those lists of like, yeah, someday.
Sure.
But then I just kind of keep putting other things on that list in front of it.
Sure.
And then I always, like when a new season comes out, I'm like, I should binge watch that.
Yeah.
Or do I wait until it's all done and then binge watch the whole thing?
Right.
So yeah, I noticed that started popping back up, getting some chatter with the second season coming out.
Right.
I watched something that ticks some of your boxes.
Oh yeah.
And you've already watched it,
yeah,
of course. But I did end up catching an episode of Wheel of Time.
Oh, nice.
On Amazon Prime.
Uh-huh.
So they're up to like 5 now.
Yes.
You're current?
I am.
And you read the first book, or
I'm on book 3 right now.
Okay, so you've done
the
first 2. Where did that show end up so far? Like for the first book or 2 now? Are you through the first book in terms of what's shown on the series?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, no, not quite. Not quite. It's not quite through the first book. Okay. There's elements from the second book that they've pulled in of things that kind of like in the second book, they talk about things that were happening while the story of the first book was being told.
Okay.
So there's some of that you see. So that's what some of the book 2 tie-in is. But yeah, as far as the main story, and I will say that they've taken, some liberties with the story and changed things around for TV. I think, I mentioned that before when I was initially watching it, and they've done even more.
Oh.
And you know what? I don't find myself hating it because I think because I like that world so much, it's almost like hearing a new story. If, the books are not going to go away. They're always going to be there. Well, so it's not like people are really quick to say like you ruined it, you ruined the story, you ruined the book. Like the book's still there.
It still exists, and to me, I liken that to a cover of a song.
Yeah.
Nobody took that song away.
No.
The song's not ruined. They just sang it.
It's not like people are just going to listen to that version and say this
other one doesn't care. You don't get to listen to the one you love anymore. Here's our version of that.
Yeah.
And you can also add things. I mean, you just do things to make it your own.
Yeah.
Like, I love both versions of Hurt.
Right.
And each one of those speaks to me differently.
Different ways, yeah.
And so there are times where I'll see something, I'm like, oh man, I like this, but it's not. But I could still enjoy it.
Yeah,
I could still take this and say, okay, yeah, this is what it is. And same thing. Like every time they turn around and remix and reboot a comic book series, or approach Batman, you can't. You can say how many times that Batman is ruined, or you did this for no, it's different. This version, this vision of. Yeah. So, I watched the first episode of that, having not read any of it.
Yep.
And was curious to to see how I felt. Like, does this feel like a story? Does it feel like it's chasing a book, or does it feel like an adaptation? I'm interested in it. Yeah. I want to watch more of it. I think I might just pick up 1 or 2 episodes at a time.
Sure.
And see where that goes for me. I'm curious about the world and the rules,
Sure.
and who's doing what.
Right.
And I think I figured out what the one character in the first episode. I think we had talked maybe offline about like a character who's a little bit more passive and gentle giant kind of guy, and something happened to kind of make him so. That I saw that, and I was kind of waiting for that to happen to figure out which of these characters, because there were two that I had in my mind, like it could be this guy or this guy, and one seems a little bit more obvious than the other as to what happens. But it's cool. I like that. I like that kind of world. I like, there's obvious comparisons to like Game of Thrones and that stuff, but I like that. Like that village felt different because it was, it didn't feel like a competing town, and there wasn't. But of course, that's the first episode. But I don't know if there's like an overarching kingdom where somebody will come in. But I did notice, and what I was expecting in terms of like production quality and budget. Yeah, there were a few things where I'm like, okay, so this is not going to be on the level of Game of Thrones, right? Or this is not feature-length film, right? These are, but they were a step above what you would find on like Smallville, or some of those TV shows. But in terms of like emotional draw and character and stuff like that, I'm like, all right, I think my wife would like this. Do I want to sit through the first episode again? Right, sure. I don't know, but I don't want to get like 3 in and her come in and be like, "What you watching?" Right, yeah. And then,
oh boy, here we go.
Yeah, I don't want to watch these. Like I like them. I don't know. Maybe I'll start to love it. I don't know. Sure. But so that's Saturday morning. I started out with that with coffee and just kind of slow start to the day. Nice. And then I just in the mood for something different, because I will go to Netflix, go to HBO Max, and look for some of the stuff that I kind of look for, and then I thought I'll start with Amazon Prime and see what's there. And I was like, oh yeah, I should totally start with this. And then I ended up watching another a film on Amazon Prime called Lansky. Okay. And it was released this year, 2021, and it's a recounting of Meyer Lansky in his later years, the Jewish guy that was connected to organized crime, Bugsy Siegel and Lucky Luciano. Was that right? Yeah. But Harvey Keitel plays Meyer Lansky.
I love Harvey Keitel.
I love a solid Harvey Keitel.
Yeah, that's fair.
When you see some of these guys, you're like, as they get older, you're like, oh man, I don't know how many more movies we're gonna get with this guy. And some of these people get to these roles, you're like, oh, why did you select that? You didn't have to put that on your portfolio. Sure. But he's really good in it. And he looks great. Like he looks great for his age. Yeah. I think it's he's retelling a story to Sam Worthington. Oh yeah, who is an author, and he's kind of down on his luck trying to get another big book kind of deal, and he's separated from his wife, and he's just following this story down to Miami. So the movie's told as a kind of like a flashback, and how you'll start as Meyer was a kid and learning how to gamble, and then just working his way up into handling the numbers and organized casinos and betting and doing all those things. So it's good. It's got some surprising violence, and it's not. I wouldn't put it anywhere near like Goodfellas or Godfather, but it's one of those pleasantly surprised. Like, I'm gonna start this to see what I think, but I totally expect, because I hadn't even seen a trailer for it, that I might be turning this thing off. Yeah. But It's pretty good. Yeah.
Nice.
I'm trying to think of who. Minka Kelly is in it.
Okay.
And the FBI is trying to leverage the Sam Worthington character, lean on him because Meyer Lansky has reportedly $300 million missing somewhere that they're trying to figure out where that money is.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to put some pressure on him to kind of get him to somehow backdoor his way into finding out where it is. So
Gotcha.
I won't say anything beyond
Sure.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have Amazon Prime and you're looking for something to do for 2 hours, you like gangster movies, you like dramas, decent acting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend that one. And then Saturday was my I consumed 3 different things that day, but that's about it for the week.
Sure.
I watched a DMX documentary.
Oh.
On HBO Max.
Yeah.
It's called Don't Try to Understand, and it's part of the Music Box series.
Yeah.
Have you seen any of the other ones?
I haven't. They're all on my list of things to watch, and I want to give them time to watch, but most of the time when I'm ready to watch them is late at night.
Yeah.
And I know there's a chance if I put this on, I'm going to fall asleep, and I don't want to do that because I want to watch it.
So the first one is the Woodstock 99.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's really interesting in how it tells the story of like what happened with the event, but also like what was going on at that time in culture,
general, yeah,
and why things turned out the way they did there, and what was our music culture like, what was movies and what was going on, like Columbine and all these things were like this ingredients in a stew.
Interesting.
That boiled over
right
at Woodstock 99. So definitely check that one out.
Uh-huh.
The Jagged one with Alanis Morissette, I don't know, like I'm going to watch it now, having seen the DMX one, because if it's at all treated the same way, they're like 30 for 30.
Yeah.
But from music.
Yeah.
I will definitely check it out.
Nice.
DMX one is great. It starts with him getting out of prison, served a year for federal tax evasion, and then he spends the year trying to do like a comeback tour. And you get to see him traveling, some of the stuff that he does with his spare time, going back and forth between Yonkers and some of the people he grew up with, and he does go through a little bit of struggle with relapsing, but it's shown. It's not shown on screen.
Sure,
it's off-screen stuff that's talked about and part of the story. But the story does end prior to his death. It doesn't end with his death.
Sure.
So it kind of encapsulates like a year. In that period, and you get to kind of see. It's really interesting to me to see some of that stuff cut against the footage of like when he was younger, hungrier, and just in peak form.
Yeah.
And he was a force to contend with, man.
Yeah.
I was a really big DMX fan, and I was really really interesting to kind of see how they were going to treat it. Was it a thing where it was like, do we look back at him with rose-colored glasses and, look at his legacy different? Or,
sure.
But this is a more real approach.
Yeah.
It feels like they're really trying to do the fly on the wall kind of thing and not tell a narrative.
Nice.
So it just kind of like when it ended, I was like, oh,
yeah,
it's over. And I'm okay with it.
Right.
Like it wasn't like I was waiting for some conclusion.
Yeah, where's the payoff to the story?
Yeah, like things happen throughout it, but it's kind of like, and even things that are introduced late in it, you don't necessarily need the
resolution.
You just kind of realize this is a moment in time.
Yeah,
and a family, a guy with family all over, I should say. But yeah, so that was Don't Try to Understand.
Nice.
That was good. You 3D printed something for me.
Oh yeah,
this week.
Yeah.
We have a stove oven that one of the knobs broke.
Yeah.
And we kind of looked into replacing it. And I was like, hey, Luke has a 3D printer.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he can print.
Yeah.
And after, 3 or 4 text messages, you're like, is this the one?
Mm-hmm.
And you printed it out.
Yeah.
And it fits.
Yeah.
The only thing I need is this little clamp kind of spring-loaded clip thing that goes on to keep the knob from like just sliding off.
Oh, gotcha.
So it is better than it was.
Sure.
But I still need to get that to keep it from just being loose and sliding off.
Gotcha.
But you came to my rescue this week.
Yeah, so that I found a new thing because of that. So yeah, you sent a message and said, "Hey, this broke. Is that something that could be 3D printed?" And I was like, "Probably."
Yeah.
And I spent maybe 10 minutes searching for it, and I found it. And I sent you a picture. I was like, "Is this it?" And you're like, "Yeah, I think that'll work." And so I printed it. Took all of maybe 15, 20 minutes to print. But I found it on this website called thangs.com, THANGS.com. So for 3D printing, there are these repositories of just thousands and thousands of 3D prints. And one of the main sites is a site called Thingiverse. And that is has been the place to go for years and years. And depending on what you're doing with 3D printing, if you're doing it something, so mostly what I use it for is printing miniatures and terrain for like tabletop games or D&D and stuff like that. But if you're doing that kind of stuff, there are Patreons that you can follow of people that make their own designs. There's a place called My Mini Factory that has a big repository from different people that sell that stuff. And there's a handful of other websites for stuff, 3D printing for like tabletop hobby games. But there's this whole other side of 3D printing for industrial use and home use and, things that aren't toy and game based. And Thingiverse has a good collection of all of that. And then this other website that, is fairly new from what I could find called Thangs. And their site design is a little bit better than Thingiverse. I think Thingiverse, it's good to see competition in the space because it forces iteration, forces, progression. And Thingiverse had been the main place for so long that it just hasn't really been updated in a while. I mean, they're constantly updating it, but overall, the site feels a lot like it has for years. And this new site has just a little bit more polish.
Okay.
A little bit, it's a little snappier. When you view an item, you can actually see the 3D, a 3D render of it that you can kind of move around and zoom around. And Thingiverse has that on some things, but not everything. And it's just a little different. And so it feels nice to be able to have somewhere else to look for that kind of stuff. So it's not really much more to say other than, if you're into 3D printing at all, that's another place to look now for things. And I only found it I just Googled, Samsung stove knob. Yeah. STL, which is the file extension that a 3D printer uses. And I stumbled on it that way. But it's cool. It's cool to see 3D printing, because of what I use it for mostly, I forget that there's so many other things you can do with it and so many other ways to make life better from just making your own things. Yeah. And 3D printers now are so inexpensive that if anybody's if you're listening, thinking about getting into 3D printing, you really can for like $100. Yeah. Get a starting 3D printer. It's not going to be, it's not going to be amazing. You get what you pay for a lot of the time, but it's a more accessible thing than it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of cool things you can do with it. Milo, my youngest, he wanted so I guess the latest thing right now is putting the Rock's head on random things.
Oh gosh.
And so he wanted me to print him, or he had a buddy print a Rocktopus, which is the Rock's head on an octopus body. And so he brought that home and he wanted to paint it. So it was kind of fun seeing him paint stuff while I was working on other models downstairs. But he wants me to print him a Mike Wazowski with the Rock's face.
Oh, geez.
And there's all kinds of silly stuff like that that you can print too. And then the only other thing that I have is 3D printing related. I got a new printer. I mentioned that I ordered a printer it was on a Black Friday sale. I got it in and I've been messing around with it. It's the Anycubic Photon Mono 4K, which is a resin printer. And it's a higher resolution, so it's a little bit finer detail. And it's cool. It's really cool. It's not a super expensive machine. It was I think I got it maybe a little over $250. But it will do super high detail stuff. And there's all kinds of different resins that you can get into if you want to do, stuff for like dental castings and, high end, like recreation of little tiny, models and stuff. But yeah, I got that and it's really cool. Anycubic has been in this space for a while now, and this is their latest one.
So is
like the mid tier.
Would you be able to print out the same file on both 3D printers?
You can. The difference with resin and the other one I have is an FDM. So the resin has a uncured liquid resin, and it's UV exposed in layers, and it prints from the bottom up and upside down. And resin tends to be more brittle.
Gotcha.
It's higher. It can be higher resolution, a little higher quality, but it can be fragile. There are certain resins that are more durable and stuff like that, but in general, things that are made for like household or constant use, like a knob or something, you'd want to use ABS plastic or something that's a little bit higher strength plastic that is made to be moved and used all the time.
Okay.
And so that's when you would use a filament, like a plastic filament, and that would be extruded in layers, but that would be built from the bottom up, upright. So you're putting the bottom layer down first and building it up to the top.
Okay.
And it's a spool of plastic filament, and just a line of filament, and it gets put through a hot nozzle and melted down, and then rapidly cooled in layers.
Okay.
So you can print the same thing on both machines, but depending on what your use case is, there's a better reason to use one over the other.
So you're not exactly replacing the one you have.
Nope.
Complementing.
Yep. Just being able to do more things.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
I feel like I would get one and toy around with it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then I would be afraid I'd run out of things to do.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there's been times I've had a 3D printer now for, I don't know, probably 4 years. There's been times where mine has sat and done nothing for a couple months.
Yeah.
Just because life happens, or you're just like, I don't really need to print anything right now. And but I keep it running more often than not now.
A younger version of me would have loved that for creating. I played like Star Wars role-playing game.
Oh, yeah.
When I was just right around the time I was graduating high school.
Mm-hmm.
So we would get together weekly and do that. And of course, it's a visual medium.
Mm-hmm.
so you can draw things top down, or give people print out pictures. I remember on a computer I would be able to just draw and then print that out and show them. Like I could place walls anywhere I want. Here you could print out an entire layout and place that. So I could imagine that being or printing out what an ogre might look like, or size comparisons of things. So that's where my mind goes, is like, oh man, yeah, I could do. I would love to do that. Let's see, what else have I been up to? Oh, we did here at the office. I upgraded my monitor.
You did?
I've got an ultra wide monitor.
Yeah.
I've weighed that for a long time as to whether or not I wanted to do it, instead of just doing 2 monitors and opening Chrome and having like 2 sets of tabs or whatever. So I went with one. I had kind of like a Black Friday, Cyber Monday sale, and I had a gift certificate or gift card from Best Buy.
Nice.
So I'm just going to jump on this.
Yeah.
I'm just going to do it, and I don't need to get a curved one. I don't need anything that's 4K. Let's just start.
Yeah.
So I got this thing, and already I'm like, crap, man. Look how different my email looks. Look how much more I've got going on here. I can use the preview pane and keep it open and not have to feel like I'm scrunched for space.
Jumping back and forth between stuff.
It's really nice. And then like I'll open up something that just works with like multiple panels.
Yeah.
Like I look at like Adobe will have like different, and you could just open up the different screens and kind of spread them out and not have to worry about over like just sitting on top of itself.
Yeah.
So I love it, man. I know I'm kind of late to the game.
No, dude, that's awesome.
Those. And, I took the other, I think it's a 27-inch down, and I'm like, do I want 4?
Yeah.
I've got 2 monitors. I've got an ultra wide, and I have another one that's a wide screen, but I keep it portrait, which works really well for me for reading email or like timeline stuff.
Yeah.
Pulling up, having things, or to use as a reference if I want to read.
Right.
That's where that is. But I look at that and I'm like, oh man, I wonder what a bigger one is like now. I wonder what a curved one feels like. Because I had pinged a couple of people over the years, like, you have one? Do you use it? What do you think? And I've heard pluses and minuses, and nothing to where I'm like, I'm going to take the risk.
Sure.
And this year I was like, I'm going to take the risk.
Yeah.
So I've got it. And, the early feedback from myself is it was awesome. And
Sweet.
I should have done it before.
Yeah, sure.
I don't think there's a whole lot else going on here, not office-wise. One question I meant to ask you. Luke, did you guys ever build a gingerbread house?
No.
We did one last night. My family, we got this 3-house kind of set up, and they look like New York brownstones.
Yeah.
3 in a row. They all look the same. I suppose if I wanted to paint them up, they could look like the Street on Full House,
right?
The painted ladies. So we set those up. It was like a kit we got at Target, and they were already pre-baked.
Yeah.
All the icing, all the candy to add onto it. And so we spent a couple hours, my son, his girlfriend, we did after dinner.
Oh, nice.
Put it together, and it became competitive. It became...
I need one more red gumdrop. You don't need that one. Let me have it.
Those are things that were said.
Yeah.
Why do you have all the candy canes? Hey, let me get one of those gingerbread, man. Like, there were... Yeah. Hey, what? No, you give me those. It's a lot of fun, and you have to have some patience when you first put it together, because you have to
because that frosting kind of has to dry, right?
Yeah, it says on the box hold these 2 together for 2 minutes. Then you put the other one on hold for 2 minutes, and then there's a thing that says wait 15 minutes. We did not.
Yeah,
we were like, no, we gotta decorate.
Yeah,
and My house may or may not have looked like it was a demo unit,
Oh no!
but it was rebuilt.
Okay.
Everything's fine.
Yeah.
It just things did not, they didn't lock into place.
Right. Sure.
But came out awesome.
The weak foundation.
Yes, it's you don't want to lean against anything.
Yeah, it's built on swampland.
Yeah, it's pretty cool though, man. I think maybe 2 hours or so.
Nice.
And did one of those, put on some Christmas music and do the thing.
Sure.
And have the memory.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of fun. I think we'll probably end up doing more of these because it became my wife and his girlfriend ended up grabbing the house in the center, and that became their thing. And there was many hushed conversations whispered on the other side of the table of plan of attack. And then I pointed out that I was the only one to decorate the back of the house. And of course, not at the end, they had to go around and decorate the back of theirs. But yeah, that was more fun than I thought it was going to be.
Sure.
I would recommend, if you're looking for a fun family thing, do the gingerbread house.
Nice.
Yeah, there's like a normal one for like, I would say like 15 or 20. And then we got the bigger one that was like 25 or so.
Nice.
Which sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
But, for a couple hours of entertainment.
That's what you would pay to go to dinner or a movie or something anyway. So.
And then you get to eat it.
That's right.
It is edible. I did check. It is 51 servings.
Oh, wow.
At 120 calories a rip.
All right.
So you're looking at, well over 6,000 calories for this thing.
Yeah.
Hard as a rock.
Yeah.
To begin with.
Yeah.
Then you're just assembling it, letting it get harder.
It's going to chip a tooth on it.
Yeah. So I don't know if we'll do any formal teardown and eating of it.
Sure.
But, yeah.
Does that make you guys want to bake your own gingerbread and make your own house?
Not yet.
Okay.
Maybe another house or two.
Get into making, the Lego architecture models out of gingerbread.
Just have you 3D print me.
There you go.
Gingerbread-like things.
I'll print you gingerbread molds.
You could do that.
And then you could bake them.
Here's what I'm thinking. I'm going to do a cutaway. You can look inside the house.
Yeah.
See, yep. I think we might have found a new Christmas tradition.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I don't really have anything else going on here. Looking at our notes, I don't see anything else.
I think we covered a lot.
All right, my man. Well, let's get out of here.
Yeah.
See you next
Wednesday.
Tuesday.
Wednesday.
We'll be here Tuesday, but
yeah, you don't need to know that.
You don't need to know that. You don't need to know how the sausage is made. You don't want to see the sausage being made. See you guys.
See ya.